everybody? It's Devon Haney, and you're watching Jay Calderon Boxing Talk.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy, Jay Calderon, Stand Clear Entertainment, and we're about to get into this week's Boxing Talk. Please hit that little red subscribe button, hit that like button, that share button, drop a comment. Also, hit that bell icon, put your email information in so you get all my notifications once I drop a new video. We're going to do a recap over the last fight of 2019. It's been a very good year for boxing fans. And this took place this past weekend in Atlanta, where over 14,000 in attendance came out for one of boxing's young, bright future stars in boxing today in Gervonta Tank Davis, who moved up to the 135-pound weight division to fight for a secondary lightweight title of the WBA to take on former world champion in Yorkis Gamboa. This was a fight where it was a no-win situation for a young fighter like Tank. Once this fight was announced, we already knew the way the outcome of this fight was going to go down. It wasn't a very good look for Tank because Tank was expected to win, and he was also expected to blow Gamboa out early in this fight. This was a guy that was 38 years old, past his prime, past his better days, and Yorkis Gamboa has been dropped previously 14 times to the canvas. This guy has a very weak chin. We saw that he gave a competitive fight early on to a guy like Terrence Crawford, who is considered pound for pound one of the best fighters in the world. And back then, you know, Yorkis Gamboa, I believe, was around close to 33 years old when he fought Terrence Crawford. So this guy was even an older fighter when he fought Davis, who's 25 years old. He's in the prime of his career. You know, this kid is an explosive fighter, quick hand speed, you know, knockout punching power, and he excites fans. He brings fans and puts them in their seats when he comes out to fight. He's becoming a very big attraction in boxing today. But, you know, that wasn't the case in this fight because we saw Yorkis Gamboa injured in this fight. We found out that it was actually an Achilles heel. Instead of being the shoe problem that the announcers on Showtime were talking about, that his shoe was broken and that he couldn't get the right proper footing in this fight early on. But it wasn't that. He actually injured himself. So that's even worse than having a shoe problem throughout this fight, because he was a sitting duck for Javonte Davis to take out earlier in this fight. But he allowed Yorkis Gamboa to go deep into the waters. He got dropped 3 times during this fight, and he wasn't able to be put away until the 12th and final round. And that's something that's not acceptable. He dominated the fight, yes. He looked good through spurts of this fight, but he also looked gassed out. You could tell that he wasn't training properly for this fight. You know, Tank has disrespected the sport of boxing by not taking his career seriously, by partying too much. We saw that with Andy Ruiz when he did not, you know, train properly for a fight. When he came up against somebody like Anthony Joshua, who he already knocked out, but had a better game plan the second time around to execute against him. And that's something that, you know, Gervonta Davis has to look to. You know, Yorkis Gamboa is past his prime, but this guy is an experienced fighter that was able to tie him up when he needed to, that he was able to move and slip some shots, you know, and make it a little bit difficult for Tank at times. But Tank should have been more prepared, should have been more aggressive, should have let his hands go a lot more in this fight to be able to execute better and be able to take his man out earlier than what he did in this fight. He got the victory win. That's what matters most. But he failed to impress and to show boxing fans that he is the real deal and that he should have been able to take care of a guy like Yorkis Gamboa, who shouldn't have been in the ring in the first place because he wasn't a mandatory for a guy like, you know, Javonte Tank Davis. Davis was moving up into the weight, and he was facing a guy that we already knew had no chance of winning this fight. He had perhaps a 3% chance when he stepped into the ring. When he got injured in this fight, he went to 0% chance of winning this fight. And that just shows you, you know, that this fight lasting that long wasn't a good look for Javonte Tank Davis. You know, forget about that, you know, he puts fans in seats. People love to watch him. I'm pretty sure that the ratings are going to be sky high for Javonte Tank Davis for this fight because this guy is an attraction in boxing. You know, a lot of stars and celebrities came out to see Javonte Tank Davis because he is that type of attraction in boxing today. A young man of this age is really becoming, you know, the face of boxing for the future. But he needs to take the bigger steps and take the bigger challenges. You know, he got guys like the Zone, Eddie Hearn, that are offering him $7 million paydays, you know, $8 million paydays to come over to the Zone for a one-fight deal in order to fight guys like Tevin Farmer. No disrespect to Tevin Farmer. I like him. He's a good guy. He's a very good champion. But I don't believe he could beat a guy like Gervonta Tank Davis. You know, he could go over to a huge platform bigger than Showtime over at ESPN, where he could get a lot of shine and a lot of eyeballs on him if he could face a guy like Miguel Berchelt in the super featherweight division. And he did not take the fights at 130 pounds that he should have taken. Guys like Miguel Berchelt, Tevin Farmer, and even Jamel Herring. These guys were world champions in his weight class. They were the top fighters in his weight class, and he bypassed all of these guys. There's a lot of criticism to Gervonta Tank Davis because people believe in his talent. People know that he can win these fights, but he's not taking the chances to prove to people that he is the best fighter in the world, that he belongs on that pound-for-pound list if he takes the chances of fighting these fighters to show how great he really is. And that's the problem that I have with Gervonta Tank Davis. You know, I believe in Gervonta Tank Davis's talent. I believe that he is one of the best fighters in the world, but he has to prove it. And he's moving up where there is a lot of talent right now, even more so than 130 pounds. You got guys like Teofimo Lopez, who is a big lightweight, a hard-hitting puncher coming off a very big, impressive win by knocking out a very good lightweight who was a world champion in Richard Comey by destroying him in 2 rounds, something that Tank should have did with a guy like Yorkis Gamboa, but failed to do so. You know, you got guys like Devon Haney, who has a past history with Gervonta Tank Davis because these guys have sparred. And guys like Floyd Mayweather has said that Devon Haney is the future of boxing as well. This kid is a very talented young fighter that is younger than Tank at 22 years old. Undefeated, looking very impressive in there, has won a lightweight title already, and he is a force to be reckoned with in this weight class. And this is a very huge fight that could take place on the Zone or even on Showtime, because Eddie Hearn has repeatedly said that he's willing to allow his fighters on his stable to cross over to other networks like Fox and Showtime if they're willing to pay the same amount of money that the Zone is willing to put up to bring those fighters over on PBC over to the Zone for one-fight deals. You know, this is something that Eddie Hearn has been striving to make happen because he wants to make the best fights possible. And if they have the money to do so, they're going to put the money on the table to attract these fighters to come over to make these big fights, to make boxing better. And that's what boxing fans should be clapping for and should be rooting for, as for making the fights by any means possible. This is not about one side versus the other. It's about making boxing great again. And this is what makes boxing great. You know, when the money's on the table on either side, if the money is there to be made, why not let these fighters fight for the biggest prize possible and make the biggest fights possible so that boxing fans are the real winners, you know, when these fights are happening. So this is what Gervonta Davis needs to do going forward in 2020. It's not about looking for fights like Leo Santa Cruz, a guy that's a featherweight, moving up 2 weight classes to face him as the smaller man, you know, for a pay-per-view fight. That's not the fight we want to see. Floyd Mayweather, who is the mentor of Gervonta Tank Davis, at age 21 was a world champion, and he was making big fights against Diego Corrales, the top guy at 130 pounds at the time when Floyd Mayweather fought him. That's the major fights that Gervonta Tank Davis should be fighting right now. You know, you don't pick a guy coming 2 weight classes down in Leo Santa Cruz to make that your fight. You don't fight guys like Javier Fortuna, who's going to fight for a world title, you know, and he's a PBC fighter, and that's an easy fight to make for Gervonta Tank Davis. You don't make those type of fights. You fight the best of the best. Guys like Devon Haney, who are available before they move up to 140 pounds, because they're at the point of their career where they're growing as young men, and they're not going to be able to make this weight much too longer. So you need to strike now while it's hot. It's an attractive fight that's going to bring in a lot of fans on Showtime, on Fox, or on the Zone. It doesn't matter where this fight takes place. It matters that the fight takes place, period. You know, Vasyl Lomachenko is the king of the 135-pound weight division. He's on ESPN, a major network that is a very huge platform for any fighter. And this is a pay-per-view worthy fight, a super fight to see somebody like Gervonta Tank Davis take on somebody like Vasyl Lomachenko. You also have somebody like Mikey Garcia, who, Tank already said is already too big because he fights at 147 pounds. But also, Mikey could come down to 140 and face somebody like Gervonta Tank Davis, who missed the weight at 135 pounds and came in at 136 and a quarter pound for this fight against Yorkis Gamboa. So if he puts on, 4 more pounds, 3.5 more pounds to face somebody like Mikey Garcia at 140, that's a huge fight that could take place also on Showtime or also on The Zone if The Zone is willing to pay more money than what Showtime is willing to give. And that's what boxing is about, making the big fight so that the boxing fans are treated to something great. Now, somebody like Teofimo Lopez is taking a big risk and taking a big opportunity to fight Vasyl Lomachenko, perhaps in April of 2020. That's going to be a major fight, a much bigger platform than anything that Javonte Davis has done so far. He's pulling in fans into the arena, 14,000. That's great. But fans are going to tune in a lot more to see, somebody like Teofimo Lopez versus Vasyl Lomachenko for title unification, because that is a major fight in the lightweight division. And if Teofimo Lopez wins, the sky is the limit, and this kid will be a superstar in boxing that will match Gervonta Tank Davis, because he will be a hot ticket seller. Trust me when I tell you. So Gervonta Tank Davis, if Vasyl Lomachenko beats Teofimo Lopez, which he's expected to do, that's the super fight to make. That's the huge pay-per-view fight that needs to be made. I know that Bob Arum and also Al Heyman have discussed this fight for 2020. Can they make this fight a true reality? We don't know yet. We're hoping so, because that's the big fight that we would love to see in 2020, the super fight between Vasyl Lomachenko and Javonte Tank Davis. But if that fight is not made, you also have Devon Haney. That's a great fight right there that needs to be made. You got guys like Ryan Garcia, that's with Golden Boy Promotion. Ryan Garcia is not ready for anyone in the lightweight division. I think he's more smoke and mirrors. He's a young fighter that's still developing, has a good trainer in Eddie Reynoso, who is Trainer of the Year in my book for 2019. He still needs time to develop and get those big fights. He needs to fight guys like Javier Fortuna and also guys like Luke Campbell to really make an impact in the lightweight division before he makes me a believer that he's ready for guys like Devon Haney, Gervonta Tank Davis, Teofimo Lopez, or even Vasyl Lomachenko, because he is really levels below those guys right now. They're trying to market him as the next Golden Boy star, the next Canelo Alvarez, the next Golden Boy as Oscar De La Hoya of 2020. But this kid is not there yet. He has great potential, but he still needs very good fights to improve before he steps into the ring with a Gervonta Tank Davis, which I believe would kill Ryan Garcia at this moment. But guys like Gervonta Tank Davis definitely need to take that big step in 2020. And let's hope that these fights can be made. But that's my take on the overall Gervonta Tank Davis and the criticism that he's been taking. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning into this YouTube channel right here, Jay Calderon Boxing Talk. Please hit that little red subscribe button, hit that bell icon, hit that like button, that share button, drop a comment. Also, follow me on all social media platforms, on Twitter, on Instagram, and on Facebook, all under the same name, Jay Calderon Boxing Talk. Also, I have the website coming up real soon. It's going to be called Fight Hook News, and I look for a bigger and better year. It's been a great 2019, and I want to thank all my subscribers, all my followers that have supported me throughout this year. I've had a lot of interviews with fighters. Go check it out. They're all on my YouTube page, and look forward to the new website that's coming out in 2020, FightHookNews.com. I'm Jay Calderon, Stand Clear Entertainment. Thanks for your support. Keep watching and please subscribe.